In a big development, top US Congress mandated panel has revealed that Chinese government had quote-unquote planned the Galwan Valley incident. In June 2020, the PLA, the People's Liberation Army of China, and Indian troops engaged in a massive brawl in Galwan Valley in Ladakh, in which 20 Indian soldiers were killed and an unspecified number of Chinese troops also lost their lives. The just-released annual report of the United States China Economic and Security Review Commission says the Chinese government had planned the Galwan Valley incident, including the possibility for fatalities in this incident. According to this report, several weeks prior to the clash, Chinese Minister Wei made his statement encouraging Beijing to use fighting to promote stability. That's right, use fighting to promote stability. Just over 2 weeks before the incident, in another potential indication, an editorial in China's Global Times warned that India would suffer a devastating blow to its trade and economic ties with China if it got quote-unquote involved in the US-China rivalry. The report also mentioned that Chinese forces have secured access and potential naval basing facilities in Pakistan as well. Joining us on this broadcast on this big breaking news is my colleague and WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibbal. Siddhant, had this been suspected in Indian defense circles as well, that the planning for Galwan Valley came right from the top on the Chinese side, because the way that commanding officer Santosh Babu was ambushed when he just went to check the situation on the ground indicates that this was a pre-planned attack on Indian troops?
Well, Shobit, there was no doubt that the entire incident had the blessings of Beijing. In fact, the president of China himself. But this is a confirmation that the incidents which have happened all throughout the year, whether it's with India, whether it's with Taiwan, whether it's Japan, Australia, Canada, UK, all these countries have been listed by the Commission's report. It's just not a coincidence. It was planned by Beijing itself, and the reason is something that nobody knows. In fact, the report points out that there is no reason why this entire incident happened, the Galwan incident happened, but one possible reason which the Commission's report has highlighted is perhaps because India ramping up the infrastructure development in its border area, something that China wanted to stop. In fact, the report highlights how Beijing claimed new areas, which includes the Galwan Valley incident, and even after like 8 months, the standoff hasn't subsided. The standoff still continues. Now, of course, the focus is on the 9th round of military talks, which are yet to be decided when they will happen. But so far, the build-up remains, and that, of course, is a cause of worry here in New Delhi. But largely now, there is an understanding globally that China is a China which will be aggressive, and the report highlights that. In fact, this report has given certain recommendations as well on how America should deal with China, which says that there should be a continuation in Trump's policy when it comes to the economic and the trade action. Remember, US President Donald Trump has taken a number of actions, whether it's listing of Chinese companies or American companies, when it comes to investing in Chinese companies who have links with the Chinese army. There should be certain kind of sanctions. So clearly, that is something that the panel report has bagged.
Absolutely, Siddhant. One final question to you. We mentioned to our viewers the comment made by the Chinese defense minister. In fact, days before the Galwan Valley incident, Chinese President Xi Jinping also made a statement. I'll just like to read it out for our viewers. He told the Chinese army to quote-unquote comprehensively strengthen the training of troops and prepare for war. And this statement came while the world was grappling with the coronavirus pandemic. So China, is it fair to say that China used the pandemic at a time when the world was grappling with the pandemic to intimidate and pressurize its neighbors, and that resulted in the Galwan Valley clashes?
Well, yes, of course, it seems that China found COVID pandemic, which of course has originated, the first case came from China's Wuhan itself, to use this as an opportunity to perhaps be more aggressive, to fulfill its own global ambitions. And that we saw globally as well, because this year, 2020, has been dominated by instances where China has been aggressive with its neighbors. In fact, the Galwan incident is the worst such incident in which India lost 20 of its soldiers when it comes to clashes with the Chinese, and that is something that won't be forgotten. In fact, there is a major relook at relations with Beijing, and that has been highlighted in the report itself, which has talked about how in the aftermath of the Galwan incident, the Indian government has taken several actions, whether it's banning of the Chinese apps, whether it is focusing on alternate supply chains. We know that India, Australia and Japan are working together for alternative supply chains, and this is backed by other countries as well. In fact, just yesterday we saw the conversation happening between the Indian External Affairs Minister and the Australian Foreign Minister, even as Australia is right now in midst of a big spat with Beijing itself. So clearly China is something which is a global worry that emerged in 2020, and is expected to be a global worry for many years now.
Absolutely, Siddhant, thank you so much for getting us the breaking news. There is pushback against China, not only from the Indian side, but from Japan and Southeast Asian countries and Australia as well. We'll keep our viewers updated on all the latest development. For now, let's